Unfortunately, our family in public have, especially my daughters, have had to be sacrificial lambs.
Paloma, Corrida, Ahera, Exira, and then Paloma Q, Dowdy, and then Paloma Morales. 29, 5 kids, 3 different baby daddies.
I did this for the victims. And when I saw the victims in my comments, I said my mom never believed me. Even if it was just one comment, but it was so many, I knew I did the right thing. God has shown me over and over that this has been the right thing. And for everybody who wants to say, I need to take a break, please write me a check for me to take a break from taking care of my children. That's what I have to say about that.
I'm even drained talking about her. Her history is just so draining.
Sexual abuse is fathers, unfortunately. And people are not talking about it because of the shame. It's so embarrassing, and I hate that I, have had to expose what have happened to my children, but I'm just praying that even if it helps one person, it was worth it. Oh my gosh, we've been struggling so bad. This man is not paying any type of support on time. He sends some of it. I made maybe $100 a month from YouTube when we broke up. I had nothing. I still am fighting every day. Even GoFundMe. I don't know what's wrong with them. They won't even let me get the money out.
Shalom, my loves. I am back with my update about Paloma video. She is a topic right now, very viral, and I decided to talk about her because she definitely relates to a spiritual energy vampire, what that looks like. And I just want to do a follow-up. One, I was gonna do this follow-up. I just been taking so long because I have other things to do. But also two, she recently did a video on Hardly Initiated, which was even more disturbing. It's this whole story is messy, crazy, disturbing, and just my heart goes out for the children. But I'm going to briefly point out some things, and for the most part I'm going to let other videos run. I'm going to do highlights of my opinions in writing throughout the video. I'm going to show the interview, some clips from the interview, and then some other people's videos that did, opinions about her. Mainly someone called Sunday Amani. I feel like her videos was the most credible videos, and she also did like 22 different videos. She was the person who mentioned it's been draining, which is one of the telltale signs someone is a spiritual energy vampire. I'm still in between. I'm not going to say this girl is a liar. I'm not going to say her husband did it or didn't do it. It could have been her husband. It could have been the oldest son. I don't know. However, I do know she herself clearly definitely has signs of spiritual energy vampire. I don't know much about the husband. Sunday found out a lot of information about the husband, but the little bit that I would analyze about the husband is that he's 1-2, and typically same type of people attract to each other. Birds of a feather flock together, equally yoked. So yeah, I want to point out Paloma's spiritual energy vampire traits and characteristics. So someone who is toxic. The fact that so Sunday pointed out that she has domestic violence cases. I did find a domestic violence case that was dropped February. I mentioned that in my previous video. Also, if you did not check out my previous video, check it out. And if you did not check out my video on spiritual energy vampires, please check that one out. Because like I say, this story is so relevant to that. The fact that she seems like she's more focused about men, going from man to man, and not focused on children. Even within the interview on Hardly Initiated, when they had a Dr. Spirit, who is a psychologist, asked her, what's her concern with this? Her concern was not being able to trust a man. Like, what? Why is that your concern right now? That should be the last thing on your mind. Like, you still worry about men. Someone who has unresolved trauma. So that's a characteristic that creates a spiritual energy vampire. Someone who is a user, a get over. She clearly, was seeking a man with money. She kind of tries to deny it, but also contradict herself, because she also says she was, looking for that. Again, I am not saying a woman should not look for a provider. I'm looking for a provider, or waiting for my provider. However, there's a difference in someone being a user or a woman who's just, a traditional woman, a woman who's going to allow a man to provide, and also be an asset to that man. So to help him build, to help him grow, whatever he's building, and to build on y'all's legacy as a family for y'all's children and grandchildren and so forth. Someone who is needy and attention seeker. The fact that she put out her own child, her own daughter's essay story, that's like the worst attention seeking thing she could have done. Like, you could have, like Sunday mentioned, she could have made a video about, her becoming divorced. Like, it could have been another way she could have, confessed to her audience that the thing she was speaking about was a lie, versus saying her children's essay story. That's for her children to tell, but she told it. Someone who belittles or diminish others to play up themselves. She was doing that on her channel a lot with, speaking down on women who mess with, as she called it, dusties. Someone who is overly talkative or exaggerates. She definitely over exaggerated her being with a rich man, because the man makes $150,000 to $200,000 a year roughly. I googled how much a executive senior IT tech make, and that's how much they make. Even if he's making $250,000 because he might have some side hustles, that's very good money, but it's not rich. Someone who expects others to take on their responsibility, is pretty obvious that she is expecting the public to take on her financial responsibility now that her husband is no longer supporting her, where she can, easily get a job through her family, has businesses. Someone who provoked guilt trips. So she provoked the entire public with a guilt trip from her daughter's essay story. Someone who is codependent and needs companions. So she, go from man to man, needing companions. And someone who does not hold accountability. So later on, I'm going to play a clip of her hearing her children, her daughter scream, and she did not get up to address what was the problem. Now, we don't see what was happening. However, most parents I know, who got other kids, like, okay, if they hear a few screams, okay, they know that's the children playing. But even if you think that was the child, eventually after so many screams, you're going to get up and intervene. So the fact that she didn't even get up and intervene, she's on live doing her makeup, that was disturbing. And then the way that she moves with men, she mentioned that she has no regrets, which was crazy. She did also, in the same video, contradicted herself, because she said she do wish she moved different. But that was kind of after the Dr. Spirit pointed out some things. But yeah, it's very disturbing. So signs and symptoms that a spiritual energy vampire is in your presence. I want to highlight this again. So these are things that I pointed out in my spiritual energy vampire story. There's more, but these are the ones that apply to her and even her husband. So spiritual energy vampire, being in your life. So no, she's not physically in our lives, but she is consuming us through her story and through the algorithms. Even Sunday say within looking up all of her videos, like I said, I think she did like 22 videos on this woman at this point. She said it was very draining. So feeling drained is one of the telltale signs someone is a spiritual energy vampire after being with them. Drain of in fatigue, someone who makes you anxious, aggravated before, during, or after being with them. And trust me, when I look at these videos with this woman, I'm very aggravated. Stressed and confused. She has everyone's confused, second guessing. She has people, just confused and second guessing whether or not she's telling the truth, whether or not she it was the husband, or if it was her oldest son. The niece, made accusations that this was not her uncle, but it was her Paloma's oldest son, who is not her husband's. Her husband nicknames OJ, who is not her husband's child, but apparently, say the niece, he has some issues, some behavioral issues, and allegedly he is the one who did the essay. So that we don't know. That's confusing in itself. Someone who embarges on your life, whether you welcome them or not. And again, she's not physically here, however, she's in our algorithms. Someone who is overwhelming. The whole story is definitely overwhelming, and someone who makes you feel used. So this may apply with some people who donated, and then maybe later heard more of her story, and then later did not feel sorry for her because of, this is some things is just not adding up. I'm sorry, I'm tired. It's like 4 o'clock in the morning, but some things is not adding up. So again, I'm not going to say she's lying or not. I honestly feel like she's telling the truth here and there, but some things she's definitely lying about. I have my reasons. So I am, again, I'm a nurse. And if you know me, I'm also an artist, so I'm very, very, very attentive to detail, and I can't help but to assess things from a logical standpoint, from a scientific standpoint, a visual standpoint, all of that in-depth stuff. And in the past, I've done some studying on, how to tell if someone is lying. I'm going to show that first because I want people to see and make their assumption on this in a non-biased way, because she does have mismatch, signs that, some areas I do feel like she's telling the truth, but some areas is clearly a lie. So that's the signs and symptoms and characteristics. So Sunday made a very good point. Her point is not truth to this story, but it pointed out the fact that we need to pay attention to people's character. Again, I'm a high believer of that. I feel like if people pay attention to character, they can save themselves a lot of trouble and heartbreak. And Sunday pointed out her character is the character of someone who may or may not be a jealous or envious person. I agree with this because with her mentor Shiva 7 that she pointed out, the reason why she did pretty much everything she did. She admired Shira 7. She mimics her, and in order to do that, she had to monitor her. Hence, monitoring spirit. A monitoring spirit can be any type of entity. An entity is just a living being. So, an animal, spirit, Satan, a human, an angel, all can monitor. But she monitored Shira 7, and then she mimicked her. And because she also did the same apparently to her second baby's father. His new wife is supposedly a known YouTuber, and she started her page after hers. So someone who, it's one thing to admire someone. Admiration is a beautiful thing. Someone can inspire you to do something, but to want to mimic someone else down to pretty much to the T. Shira 7 called herself Shira Star Goddess. Isis became Isis, who is a goddess. Shira 7 has a spiritual channel, and Isis, started speaking towards the Christian girls. Shira 7's husband is an IT tech and older, 20 plus years older than her. And Isis also found a husband who is an IT tech and older than her. And then Shira 7's platform is about hypergamy, and Isis also channel is about hypergamy. And what I noticed, Paloma in this interview stated that she did not even want to expose the name of the dating site she met her husband because she don't want to, badmouth them or give them a bad name. However, she has no problem name dropping Shira 7. I personally feel like perhaps she's trying to sway women away from Shira 7's following, pretty much saying, oh, I follow her and look what happened to me. So other women might be like, oh, I better not follow her. My experience with haters that admired but couldn't do what I do, couldn't live my life, they end up trying to sabotage me as well. So yes, some signs and symptoms of that will be someone who will get close fast, someone who study and mimic me. I had women try to mimic my decor, creative skills, the way I dress, the things that I just eat, even the fact that I care about my health and things like that. Again, nothing is wrong with that, but there is always a difference. It's always a difference in a thin line between being admired and inspired to become better versus trying to copy and then getting mad or jealous when you cannot keep up. So then when you can't keep up, that's when you become a hater and envious. So I feel like I find it kind of weird that Paloma is protecting eHarmony, but she is name dropping Shira 7 still. So Paloma's usage and provoke of familiar spirits. Again, all of these things tied together that I'm talking about. Familiar spirits, monitoring spirits, spiritual energy, vampire, and jealous, envious spirits. So people can always change. I even used to be into the African spirit science, and I found the truth, the light, and completely change. The thing that's kind of weary with me with her, when somebody changed, they are going to cut all ties, and the fact that she still called herself Isis is a red flag. So supposedly Sunday discovered that by the age of 20 she became a self-proclaimed witch. Paloma did mention she's been following Shira 7 for a very long time before she became even bigger. So Paloma is 29 now, and Shira 7 been around I think for 10 years. I heard. So I wouldn't be surprised if she copied off of her being a witch as well. So Isis is the Greek name for Aset, an Egyptian goddess who is the queen of the throne. Her husband was her brother, Osiris, and who is the ruler of the underworld. She is the mother of Horus. Her role was to protect women and to bring magic. And Paloma supposedly want to protect women. She's also the queen of the universe in her ancient Egyptian mythology, and she embodied the cosmic order. What people don't realize when they channel these witch paganism, polygods, even if they feel like, oh, I'm not, into it like that, I just like the name, or I just, like it for commercial reasons or for money, you are still unconsciously channeling, provoking and honoring, which in turn is worshiping these spirits. So I am going to again let these videos run. I'm going to make my highlights of my opinions here and there. Yeah.
If you want to know whether someone is being dishonest, pay close attention to their body language. Vanessa Van Edwards joins us now. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
I want to get straight to the lip purse, because that's a big one. You said that people will do this before they tell this lie. So explain what that
So we have to understand, liars don't like to lie. We know that lying gets us into trouble. So what you'll see often is right before someone lies, they withhold. So lip purse, if you press your lips together, it's as if we're saying, hold it together, keep it in, don't get in trouble. So right before a lie, that there's no Pinocchio's nose. There's no one cue that shows someone's lying. What we're looking for is patterns of deceit. And research has found that there are certain red flags that are common. The lip purse is a really good one to look out for.
No Pinocchio's nose. However, the nose can be a tell.
Very much. I think that the writer had an inkling. So research, this is ridiculous research, but it found that we have tissue in our nose that swells when we lie. They use thermal imaging cameras. Meaning, so next time you lie, not that you ever do, next time you lie, pay attention as if your nose itches. They found that liars will often touch their nose. Researchers analyzed Bill Clinton's testimony during the Monica Lewinsky trial, and they found that in his lying testimony, he touched his nose 26 times. In his honest testimony, he didn't touch his nose at all. Important is we're looking for clusters, right? So like if it's allergy season or someone just got like a swab, yes, they're gonna be itching their nose. You're looking for sudden changes in behavior or incongruency. So for example, we're looking for when the body doesn't match the words. One of my favorite line cues is a mismatched nod. This works really well. When someone says yes, but shakes their head no, or says no, but shakes their head yes. So for example, you could say, so do you like the new colleague? Yeah, she's great, right? That's a mismatch, and we're very odd that we mismatch our verbal.
I read that first-person pronouns can be a tell for lying. First, remind us what a first-person pronoun is.
Okay, I'm your my. Subconsciously, we drop the I'm your my. Someone will say, oh, that email must have gone to spam, or didn't get that email, instead of, oh, I didn't get that email.
Oh, we drop it.
Running late, not I'm running late. And that's because we're trying to distance ourselves from that thing that's going to get us trouble. In emails, if you notice a sudden drop in I'm your my, pay attention. Little red flag. Little red flag. Yeah. Dating profiles, little red flag.
What about when you're talking to somebody and they look away, and you're like, what are you looking at? We automatically assume, make eye contact, they're lying.
Because I look away a lot. I realize, like when I'm doing interviews and I look, thinking about what I'm going to say.
People say if you look up to the left, you're lying.
I don't know how this got out there. Let's bust this myth.
It's from a movie, I think.
It's from a movie. So everyone seems to think that shifty eyes or looking up to the left means you're lying. Actually, research has found liars look you in the eye more. Why? They want to know, do you believe me? Do you believe me? Do you believe me? So looking up is a processing behavior. If someone's remembering something, if I asked you to do math, you'd look up. So that's a myth. Shifty eyes does not mean it is deception.
Wow.
And this helps us as a whole when we can identify people who are lying.
I think it is an essential skill. Also, we did a little research study. We had people play 2 truths and a lie. Have you ever played this game?
Yeah, I have.
Okay, so here was the big one that we found. On the lie, people use the question inflection. And that's because liars don't believe what they're saying. So they're asking, do you believe me? So I would say, I'm from Austin. I love dogs. I'm a vegetarian.
Vanessa.
The basis of lie detection is that liars have so many things they're trying to keep straight that they forget or they leak out their truth. And so that means they're saying one thing, but their body or their voice tone shows another. And lie detectors do better when they assume the best in people. Load. In other words, they're not just communicating back and forth free-flowing. They're trying to keep a lie straight in their head. They're trying to convince you of the lie, and they want to see if you believe the lie back to them. So what happens for liars is they get incongruent, that they are saying they're really happy, but there's no happiness on their face. So all of a sudden, the verbal track misaligns with the nonverbal. So someone says, I really love this job, and I'm really excited about it, and I can't wait to work here. And I just have been thinking about it for a long. Now you can start to see that I'm saying the right things. My verbal are saying you love the job, but I turn away, I look away, my face falls, I stop nodding, I stop smiling, I use a lot less movement. That is an incongruence. That's getting us into where lie detection begins. I know that a lack of confidence can be mistaken as a lie. The lying cues, the deception cues, are extremely similar to the anxious cues. So when I go into a situation and I'm anxious or nervous, that not only makes me look less confident, it actually makes me look like a liar.
A lie teller, because they're trying to think very hard, they will use probably the same word over and over again over a very short period of time. general research that suggests we're about 54% accurate when it comes to detecting lies and truths. And as I always say, if that's the case, you might as well flip a coin. We have this idea that if somebody is lying to us, they can't keep our eye contact. Now, of course, liars know this, and what they will do is they will keep your eye contact ever so slightly longer than normal, just enough to make you feel uncomfortable. Number two misconception tends to be when people lie, they move about a lot. They kind of get very nervous. In fact, the opposite is true. When we lie, we have to think really hard. So imagine you've got a limited amount of energy. You will channel all of that energy into telling a lie, and as a consequence, you will become ever so slightly stiller than you normally are. A third misconception is the idea that if we look up to the right or we look up to the left, it determines the type of lie or truth that we're telling. A recent piece of research has in fact debunked the idea that looking up that way or looking up that way is a good way to detect deception. It's not. The top tip for accurately determining whether somebody is lying or telling the truth is using something that we call the honest baseline. Now, the honest baseline is understanding how people act and speak when they're not stressed and when they're being truthful. So when we ask them a question, now if we find a pretty even match between the way they normally act and the way that they're acting now, we will be fairly happy that they're probably telling us the truth. If we find a mismatch, it might indicate that there is something going on here that we need to follow up with in a bit more detail.
If a man sees a woman who is a single mom being such a great mom, then it'll make him a lot more likely to reconsider dating someone with children. It's actually super sexy to see a woman mothering her children well and creating a beautiful family environment. A long time ago, someone told me this saying that would stick with me for the rest of my life. This woman said that you can only look as good as your children. So that means that if your children are not together, then you don't look put together either. So, I see this a lot sometimes, especially in our community where the mom will look all put together and then the children are just looking like, who did it and why? So, ladies, I don't know if y'all have seen that or if any of you guys are doing that, but if you are, we need to get it together. Because if I see you out and you're looking like $1 million, but your child got dried up snot and ashy knees, girl, minus 10 points.
So let's start with psychological comfort. When we're very comfortable, the muscles of the face become very relaxed, and we have all the behaviors that are associated with it. Smiling, laughing. Usually the pupils are slightly wider, the lips are full, and usually the chin tends to be further out. The very second that there's psychological discomfort, usually it begins to register in several areas. Now, for some people, we'll see it in the forehead and here between the eyes, where there'll be furrowing of the forehead or squinting. And of course, the tucking down of the chin, or in some instances where something is really emotional, you'll see the chin begins to vibrate. Covering of the eyes also is a display of psychological discomfort. So our faces, what we feel in that moment, is immediately displayed by our nonverbals. And the easiest way to look at it is that behavior consistent with comfort or is it consistent with discomfort? It's smooth. The forehead tells us that everything is well and placid. When it's furrowed, we begin to notice that perhaps there's some sort of discomfort. The eyebrows. The arching of the eyebrows is our exclamation point. Doing that eyebrow flash. When we see someone we recognize and we go, hey, how are you? The glabella, this little area between the eyes. Someone says something we don't like and we might squint at them and look at them askance. The nose. Do we wrinkle our nose upward? We do that bunny nose. At about 3 months of age, babies are already doing this when they don't like something they're being offered. And then there's the lips, which convey so much information. Maybe as often as the eyes, I'm asked about smiles. We have the social smile, the interested smile, a curious smile. We have little secretive smiles that we might give to someone that we're interested in. There is so much to our mouths. It's so expressive. But starting at a very young age, we're already focusing on these things. You may not notice, for instance, the pupils, whether they're wide or narrowed. If we can't see the full face, where can we go? The neck, the shoulders, right? The hands, the fingers, the thumbs in particular, right? So when we emphasize, the fingers are wide. When we lack emphasis, our fingers come together. While still working for the FBI and conducting thousands of interviews, I began to notice that there were times when I would look at a face and there was just something odd about it. I couldn't quite pinpoint what I was seeing. And so I began to think about the concept of chirality. And chirality usually in chemistry means that when you fold something over, it looks like it's going to fold over perfectly, but in fact, it doesn't. And that's what I found with faces. Sometimes when someone presents in a way that they're difficult to interpret, it's because their faces are actually showing two emotions. one on the left and one on the right. And if you divide the face in half and just cover one half of the face, you'll be able to more clearly see what that specific emotion is. Take a look at these photographs. Now, these photographs are taken during emotionally charged moments. And when you first see the face, you may look at it and say, well, there's something going on there. But it's not till you cover perfectly one half and then cover the other half that you begin to see the real gross differences. Normally, when we feel an emotion, we see it fully on both sides of the face. But because we don't see the full emotion on the whole face, that's something that we need to focus on and determine why. Because something isn't right.
Not with us. And that's the important thing, is that he's not with us and we need to bring him back to us. At this point, we don't know. All we can do is keep searching and doing, everything we've been doing.
Tell me about your relationship. Did he call your mom? Or
Super mommy? That was his choice. It wasn't forced. We didn't force him, because I don't want to force that. But he used to call me super mommy. He also knows that how much I care about him and everything that I've been doing for him and have done for him. So
I'm sure that a lot of you, like me, had a hard time looking at that. There's just so much about it that feels off. Now, always remember, when we're looking for lies or deception, we're looking for a cluster of behaviors. There isn't a single symptom on this planet that a behavior analyst or an interrogator is going to look at and go, oh, the person's lying because they did this one thing. We're never 100% sure. It just raises our confidence. Convincing statement. This is when the liar, instead of answering the question, instead of talking about the topic at hand, takes the opportunity to build their character up, talk about themselves, talk about how they're a supermom and how all the things they did for the person and are doing for the person, and build their character up, because someone like this, a supermom, would never lie. So in that footage, we definitely saw some of those convincing statements at the end, where instead of talking about what's so important here, which is this missing child, she's on the news, she should be begging people to come to his rescue, she's building herself up and talking about how she's the supermom and smirking and smiling about it. So that is not just the convincing statement itself, but how inappropriate it is in this interview is a huge sign of deception in that case. Blink rate, the number of times the person is blinking. Now, your average human being blinks 16 times per minute. That's the average. Some people a little more, some people a little less. That's totally natural. In fact, most of the time an interrogator wants to observe someone before they start asking tough questions to see their baseline, to see how many times they blink naturally in a minute. But for most people, it's about 16. Now, when we're really interested in something, when something attracts us, interests us, that blink rate slows down, because we want to take as much as we can in, so our eyes widen, we're really staring, and that blink rate slows down. But when we're stressed or anxious, which is usually what happens when we're being deceptive, our blink rate goes up, way up. And if you look at the video of this woman, especially towards the end, she is blinking at an insane rate. There are a lot of blinks per minute there. The third lie detection technique, and it's called failure to answer. So whenever you ask someone a question and they give you an answer, stop for a second and ask yourself, did that answer my question, and did it answer my entire question? Or were they focusing on a specific part of it and leaving something else out? I want to show you guys a really great example of this from the hit TV series Shark Tank. You're going to see the gentleman who's sitting down, asks him if he's willing to give them a discount. Take a look at his answer.
Because shark money is better than other money.
So you're charging us more than your sales because we're sharks?
I'm prepared to give you a discount because you guys are sharks.
Can you give a discount?
I'm the CEO of the company and I'm here to make a deal.
So the guy mentioned the word discount as a way to pull them in. But Damon John was a little skeptical about that, and rightfully so. So he asked, can you give a discount? Can you actually do that? And his answer was, I'm the CEO of this company and I'm here to make a deal. Well, really stop and think about that. Does that answer the question that was asked? Can you give a discount? The answer is yes or no. But he says, I'm the CEO of this company. Notice, once again, we have that resume statement. I'm the CEO, building himself up, and I'm here to make a deal. That doesn't answer the question. Also, there's a few other signs here that he's being deceptive, one of which is pacifying. This is something I've talked about on the channel before. Self-soothing gestures. Anything where it looks like we're massaging or doing something repetitive, this is a way to calm ourselves down, and he's definitely doing that. I don't think this guy's a huge liar. I just think he's a little nervous about the idea of a discount. I don't think he's willing to offer a discount. One of the weirdest failures to answer that I've ever seen in my life.
What do you think? Where do you think he could be?
somewhere with, not with us. And that's the important thing, is that he's not with us and we need to bring him back to us.
What the hell was that? Like, what kind of an answer is that there? I honestly, when I first saw that, one of two things came to mind. I was like, she was either going to slip up and say he's with God, evoking religion because she knows he's no longer with us, or she was about to give up the fact that she has an accomplice and that the kid is with that person right now. And later, it was revealed after an investigation that she indeed have an accomplice. Lip compression. Now, there are two ways you might see somebody's lips thin out. One of them is compression. It looks like this. It's when they just tighten the lips. And the second one is lip retraction. That is when the lips go inside the mouth like that. They are both indicators of deception that you can add to your cluster. Again, remember, nothing means anything in and of itself, but with other symptoms, these both work as deception indicators, but for different reasons. The thinning of the lips is when we either said something we shouldn't have said or are thinking about saying something that we don't want to say. We're literally creating tightness there to keep the words in our mouth. And again, if we look at the woman in the video, very often, you can go look at the whole video, very often her lips are thinning out. And it's almost always as she's about to say something and she's sort of contemplating how to put it, or she just said something and she's going, I shouldn't have said that, which is something we often do. We even say that, we go, I shouldn't have said that. It's literally trying to keep the words inside. The fifth sign of deception is inconsistencies. Inconsistency actually means two things. One, an inconsistency within the person's story. So something they say and later on a contradiction that doesn't quite add up with that other fact. And the second thing is an inconsistency from what you would expect a person who's telling the truth to do or say in a setting like this. And this is where experience kicks in a lot. First of all, let's look at her emotional range. The first thing that stands out to me is her eyebrows. In an attempt to fake sadness, she's faking anger by mistake, and there's a very good reason for that. When we're angry, our eyebrows come down and close together, and that activates a lot of muscles in this area, the lower forehead between the eyes. This is where anger is shown. When we're sad, our eyebrows don't go down, they go up. But here's the crazy thing, it's not the whole eyebrow that goes up, it's the inner corners of the eyebrow that goes up, and the outer part stays down. This is something that's really, really hard to fake. Very few people can actually do this, which causes your grief muscle to activate. That is a muscle here at the top of the forehead, so when someone's sad, we're gonna see a lot more activity up here and a lot less down there. What's happening with her is she's saying to herself, look sad, but she's done no research into what sadness looks like, so she's trying to do this sad thing, which is really hard to do, but actually doing anger. She looks angry. Now, would you be angry if someone was missing? Absolutely you would. But in this context, she has this forced anger, which to me is 100% a sign of deception. Another thing is, she keeps smirking. If you're on the news talking about someone that's missing, someone that you love, someone that you want back, how often would you smile? And finally, probably the biggest inconsistency is the entire message of what she's saying. If you're given an opportunity to go on the news and your community is listening to you and your child is missing, the only thing you'd be concerned about is begging the viewers to help you.
To Hardly Initiated, it's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
How you feeling right now, Isis?
That was a lot watching the video again because I haven't watched it again since I first uploaded it, so.
You haven't watched the video since you uploaded it?
I can't because it's like reliving the experience over again.
Yeah.
Due to the dynamics of surrounding my birth, which I already talked about, my mom did everything possible to provide for me and my little sister. And I think the hard part about being a single mom is that when you're trying to do everything, sometimes it's hard to show up for your children. And I know my mom has always done the best she could, and she's always given us a good life, and she's always protected me. She's always protected me, and I couldn't really ask for more. But I knew that when I had a family, or when I wanted to have a family, that I wanted to be able to be there for my children, whether that looked like working from home or being married. I always wanted to be able to be there for my children just so that I knew that they were safe. Because when I was a child, because my mom was working, it left the door open. A neighbor's wife was supposed to be watching me after school, and her husband was taking advantage. And I was only 8 years old at this time.
Wow.
And I didn't tell my mother for a while because it was just confusing, and I was scared, and I thought I would get in trouble. Oh my goodness.
Take your time.
So just to summarize that, I want to make sure I understand. Was it a single family home growing up? Your
Yes.
mom, she was obviously a hardworking woman that had to provide for the
very
family
much so.
all by
And in
herself.
school, always has a PhD, all the above. My mom has really strived. Every woman in my family, even my grandmother, it started with her. I mean, she owns a business, very successful woman. There's multiple entrepreneurs in my family, so we've always just been, just go get it, make it happen. I've always been that way. Before meeting my husband, I always worked, provided for my children. I never got child support for my two boys. I took care of them. I luckily was able to secure a job with a family business, so I was able to work from home. But it's what I had prayed for when I was pregnant with my second son, because his father got incarcerated when I was 6 months pregnant, and I didn't know what I was going to do because it was just going to be me. And he didn't get out until my son was about 9 months old. But I had to figure it out. And thank you to my aunt and uncle for giving me that opportunity to be able to be home with my children and provide for them. And we had a nice apartment, and we had all the good things. I had my own car, I had all my own stuff. But I remember it was one Christmas when it was just us, and I said, you know what? I would like to be married. And I had never said that before. I never wanted to be married just because, I haven't really seen a lot of successful marriages in my life. So when, I'm sorry, I'm talking too far away. But when I had that Christmas, it dawned on me that, maybe I should really put myself out there and try to find a good man for these kids. And, I had two boys, and I feel like they needed a good father.
Where's your father at this point? He's just...
My biological father is much older than my mother. He took advantage of her when she was a young girl in high school. I think I remember my mom saying she was in labor trying to take her SATs.
Wow.
And she was the pregnant girl in high school, and it's unfortunate that he preyed on her like that. There's so many men like this out there, and people just don't talk about it. Also, finding certain content. I don't know if I should even talk about any of that.
Well,
but
I think you should, because all of that influences how you think and particularly how you go about dating.
Okay.
And right now it is still very much so a gender war. Both men and women are confused about how to date and how to make decisions.
Yeah.
And I think everything and anything that influenced you at that time is important to share.
Well, I had shared this before, that I stumbled across a very important content creator that I think everyone knows as the hypergamous queen. Her videos are shared, sprinkle videos everywhere. Me and my sisters, and
That's Shira 7.
Shira 7, yes.
And I recently checked out her page, thousands and thousands of views, and she's been doing it for a very long time.
For sure.
Yes. So I was telling every woman that I met in person, like, there's a content creator that makes really good content just about, really, it seemed like how women could take their power back.
So that when you went from a place of not wanting marriage at all, and then you started to want marriage. Was she a part of the reason?
You know what? Probably. And I hate to say that, but probably. It just seemed more secure for a family. It just seemed right. It just seemed more stable, like we would be on a solid foundation. And I prayed to God about it, because, you can subscribe to certain things that people talk about, but you don't have to subscribe to everything that they talk about. And I've always had a relationship with God, and Jesus is the one true Lord. And I prayed about it and asked God to send me the right man. It wasn't just about what he had, because if it was about that, I had a lot of other options with more. And it was really about how he treated my children, because he seemed to love my boys. And he said, "Oh, those are my boys. You remind me of my mom. She was a single mom with 2 boys. And I would just love to help you and be there for you and be the man you guys need." Oh my gosh.
So what? I want to, before we actually get deep into, this situation that took place with your husband, I think it's important to, talk about the impact. I'm actually happy you shared that, because, we had that we had a debate just the other night where that was a part of the conversation, because who you watch and learn from, that's discipleship. That's mentorship.
Oh my goodness.
That's who you are, in submission to.
Yes.
Under their leadership.
You know what? That's so true.
The thing about it is, now when you're discipling under somebody to make the most important decision in your life, this is how I choose my partner. That's the biggest decision we make. They have a lot of influence on our future and the future of our children. What do you think was the biggest takeaway from that content creator in particular that impacted you, or what empowered you from her in particular, that made you feel that safety and security? Like, what was it, a particular lesson or principle that was given to you?
I think that a lot of times, like I stated before, that women are taught that their value is in what's between their legs. And she was the first person that said that it was true. And you don't have to give it away to just anybody. A man should be worth your time. He should be, taking you out. He should be investing in you. He should be making your life easier if he cares about you. And that's what I took away from it.
I think that makes sense.
I want to ask you this, because, right now, hindsight, with where you are today, do you feel like that was the healthiest content to digest, or do you have any regrets in really watching that content to help guide your decision making?
So funny thing about me is I don't have regrets. I believe that God is working in perfect order, in perfect timing, and there's nothing that happens that he has not approved or seen. And unfortunately, our family, not just our family, but our family in public have, especially my daughters, have had to be sacrificial lambs in the result of what has happened. And
So now let's talk to me about meeting your husband now, because I can imagine after you watch this content, it's probably preparing you for the suitors that come into your life, how to vet them, how to manage them. Was he one of the early suitors?
Yes.
Was he the first one, or were there a few guys before him?
He was one of the first few, and he pursued me heavily, which I liked. I think that women like a man that pursues and says that, I want you. And
you initially met him online?
Yes, online. I'm sorry. We met online. I don't want to throw the website out there, but if people have been watching, then they know. I don't want to make the website a bad place. That's not what it's about, but we did meet online, yes.
I get it. And you meet online, you set up a date.
Yeah.
Okay, and first date goes well.
The first date went amazing. He felt like my husband.
What about?
I don't know. I don't know what it was. I just felt safe. I felt like he was my husband. I can't describe it. And he, even on our first date, he said, "So what do you think about if we got married in 2 months?" And I said, "I don't know, maybe." And he spit out his water because he started choking, like he couldn't believe I said, "Oh, maybe."
Wow.
But it felt so natural and so right. And yeah.
How old were you at this time, by the way?
I was 23 or 24 or something like that. I was about 13. I lost my virginity to a 17-year-old boy in high school. And yeah, I mean, I was always told just don't have sex growing up. I don't know if that's what a lot of people in our community say.
They hear that a lot, I'm
just
sure.
don't do it. It's not really openly discussed about why and what can happen, and even personal experiences that may sway a young girl away from making certain decisions. But you know, I have learned, and I really wanted to be able to speak to young moms when I created my platform, because if I can speak to a young woman and say like, don't have kids before marriage if you can help it, you know, it's going to be a little bit easier. You know, just trying to be real and open and honest. I was a single mom, and this is what happened, and I found what I thought was a good husband.
And if I'm not mistaken, you stated this before, that you intentionally had a child.
Yeah.
So when you say at 17 you intentionally decided to, you know, move forward with bearing a child, what exactly does that mean, and what was your
We
mindset?
as a couple, he said, will you give me a son? And I said yes.
Wow.
And I was pregnant almost immediately, and I love my son.
How long did you guys have a relationship at that point?
Oh my gosh, it was probably like a few weeks. It wasn't long. It wasn't long at all. And I still consider him a friend to this day. Like,
you have your second child, you're 21, 22, some additional time elapsed, now you're 23, and you're on the dating market. Doing a bit of online dating when you initially meet your current husband, but things progress a bit, but not too much to where you still keep your options open.
The other guy was just more consistent. He was always there. He was always, what do you need? You know, so he just was prioritized.
Understood. Now, this gentleman that you're dating, you decide at some point you want to move in with him.
Yes.
And what was the living situation? Is it he's already has a place where he occupies, and then you and your two boys move in? Okay, gotcha. And how long were you dating before the relationship ends?
I mean, things were moving pretty quickly. They're moving pretty quickly. I can't quantify a time.
Tell me away.
I was 23 or 24 or something like that.
And what was his age?
45, 43, 45, something like that. I don't know.
So he's around 20 or so years older.
Yes, he's 20 years older.
Now, being a young woman at that time, 23, did you have any reservations about his age, or was that a concern at all, or was that just typical? Right. Yeah.
Okay, so I didn't get introduced to dating older men until I started watching Share 7. She just basically said, I mean, they got money. Yeah, exactly. They can be a better man to you. They can provide for you in the way that you like, and your kids. And
the assessment of, you know, deciding to be a husband, a lot of, you know, what the noise is that, you know, it was solely a financial decision that was made. What happened after that first date? Did you guys continue exclusively dating?
Not really. I mean, we kind of dealt with each other, like talked, but I kind of was just talking to people. Like, I kept my options open and just was letting people get to know me and taking things slow, not really rushing anything and not trying to get into a relationship at all. And I found that, honestly, when I started dating older men, they wanted to rush into a relationship, like, immediately. On the first date, they were like, I want you to be my woman. And I'm like, no, I don't even know you. And that's kind of just how I would, you know, we need to get to know each other over a bit of time. And it turned out to be 6 months, not 2 months. I think they wanted to take me off the market right away.
Wow. How long after you move into your apartment do you accept his invitation to now move in?
Within days.
Okay.
Within days. I mean, it was, I think that first conversation, like one of the first few conversations, he was like, well, I told him what I was going through. And I said, you know, I just need a place to stay for a little bit just to figure it out. And he said, well, if you come here, you're going to be my wife. And that was sexy to me. I was like, okay.
And I can imagine that, because you in emotional turmoil at that time. Finances is just tricky just because you run into a bunch of unexpected things.
And he seemed like a good guy. He did. If I thought he was a crazy man, I would have never entertained that idea.
How old were your boys at the time?
5 and 2.
5 and 2?
Yeah.
The 5-year-old, and see, I know it had to be a lot for the young boys too, because, you know, they just were introduced to this other brother here. Yeah. And now they got to see this new guy. Did the 5-year, did he express any concern, or like, or he just kind of going with the flow, 5 years old?
Honestly, we got married a week after that we started talking about the marriage, and at the wedding he said, can I call you dad now?
Wow.
And he said, oh my gosh, yes, that means so much to me.
And was his own father in his life?
Not like that.
Not really? From the time from that phone call you guys had to marriage, how long was that?
1 week. Wow. It was a week. Okay. It was a week, and I didn't live there until the day after. It was beautiful.
Do you feel like if you had enough money in your bank account to comfortably pay rent and other things, would you have made that decision?
Probably yes.
Okay.
Probably yes.
Because I know sometimes, you know, when money's tight, finances just have a lot to do with our decisions.
But I was making good money, and that's why I said I only needed like a little bit of time to stay. Even if I was to stay with a family member, I mean, it just would have been a little bit, because I was making good money working for my family. So I knew I would have been able to find something. I just hadn't had to plan to move so quickly. Yeah. And I moved my stuff in, went to the hotel, and the day after we got married, you know, we went home.
Was that the first time that you've ever had a man to not only profess his love for you, but to also profess his love for your two boys at that time?
I would say that men always would try to be nice.
When was the point you started seeing some signs that things might not have been right with him?
Honestly, early on. Not even a month. Some girl, his ex, was showing up at the doorstep. And she was like, well, he was supposed to be with me, because we got married so fast. So wow. I guess she was maybe hanging around, or I don't know. And she looked very, very, very young. But she was of legal age. I think she was 21, a few years younger than me. But she looked like a child.
Wow. So that was pretty much his type for the most part.
I told him, how can you be attracted to her? Because she doesn't have a body or anything. She looks so young. And he was just like, I mean, he wouldn't really say much. But I'm like, well, I guess she is an adult. It's not illegal. He may have grown up this is a normal part of life. You own your wife. And he would use scripture to manipulate me. You know, your body is not your own. It belongs to your husband. And, you know, that type of stuff too. And he would gaslight me. And I would be crying. Like, first it starts off, you think, oh, you know, he's just trying to have sex and I just don't want to. And it's like, you know, I'm telling him no. And, you know, you think he's playing at first. It's like, no, I'm serious. And then it gets to the point where you're like, he's not stopping. And I'm like fighting him and crying like, no. And it happened 4 times. But I remember the last time something in me said, don't fight and don't cry. Just lay there. He couldn't even finish. He just got off of me and just said, we're getting a divorce. And I realized that he was just attracted to the sadistic part of it.
Hold on, wait. So you used to fight him and cry, and you felt like that was what turned him on? Because
It was for sure. Because the last time it happened, when I just laid there, like I just had to be very quiet. Like I just knew just to lay there like a dead fish, basically. And he just couldn't even finish.
Did you ever think to, you know, file a criminal report when that was happening, or did you just not want to do that because that was your husband?
It didn't even. It's hard. There was so much gaslighting. He'd finish and then be like, "Babe, why are you crying? I thought you wanted it." And hold you and rub you, and I love you so much. The next day, you and the kids everybody's getting new clothes, and you know, and you're thinking, oh, my husband is a good guy. You know, he's not. You know, and I am his wife. I mean, my body does belong to him, and it says in the Bible. So, what am I complaining about? But the last time, he never did it again because he knew that I knew that what it was about.
Why someone who has been victimized may continue to continue with the relationship?
Because oftentimes a victim believes that it's something that is unique to them. They don't believe that the person that they love would consider doing more heinous things. Oftentimes they think that that's something that's specific to their relationship. So again, I don't know the story here, I don't know the backstory, but when we're talking about a victim of abuse, they don't necessarily think if I have children with someone, they will abuse someone too. And I want you to remember this because it's very easy to sit back and judge somebody when you have a healthy mind in a space that is absent of trauma. When you are caught in a cycle, the way that you see things, the way that you feel about things, the way that your brain operates is very different. So that may be also why you're hearing how she was perceiving relationships before she had therapeutic support and how she's perceiving those things now. And so I just want you guys to be very careful. It is very hard to understand what victims go through if you have never been a victim yourself. But one of the things that most victims will tell you on the other side of healing is that nobody is judging or critiquing them more, and nobody is suffering more than the victims who are going through the experience. So asking questions are important, but asking them from a place of objectivity is even more important.
The reason why I frame my question like that is because she believes in what I believe, and I believe in God. So she gave me a way to hold her accountable when she starts saying God this and God that. And if you read the word, you would know that sexual immorality or physical abuse or anything like that is pretty much grounds for divorce. And that supersedes any type of gaslighting or emotional manipulation. If she's so grounded in the word and scripture, that actually supersedes any of the other offenses this man put towards her. And that's the reason why I frame my question like that. Because if we're going to call ourselves spiritually driven and backed by biblical principles, sorry, that's my son in the background, we have to be unwavering. We have to be unwavering. And that's the only reason why I frame my question like that.
By the way, were you his first wife?
I didn't even realize how many times that man had been married before I married him. I'm his 4th wife.
Wow.
Did you know that before marriage?
No, his mom slipped up and told me.
She knew she wasn't supposed to tell you that?
I don't know. He had told me he was married 2 other times, but he said that the women cheated on him and whatever.
Did you find that out to be true? Did you ever speak to his ex-wives?
I spoke to one ex-wife, but she was so reluctant to even talk to me. I don't even know what he put her through because she was just like, when you called me, it took me back to a bad place. And I was like, oh, she just didn't share much.
They had asked her a question, have any other victims came up front? And I guess she said something about the ex-wife was so distraught that she didn't even want to speak. Where'd she get that from?
I don't think that that's true either, because none of his ex-wives would even talk to her, honestly. Like, and then we're still close with, you know, a couple of his wives. So they would never sit over there and put anything like this or be on her side with something like this with him. They would tell you,
the story, I said, oh my bad. The story is so big. If the story is so big, I know the ex-wives seen this shit. If it was an ounce of the truth, they would have been came out. They would have been came out and said something and validated her claims, but everybody don't have to come out in defense. But sometimes our offense and say, hey, this and that. That's not everybody lying.
We had a normal marriage for the most part, other than him being controlling, very, very controlling.
It's been plenty of times where I've known my grandmother went up there to the house just to clean the house because my uncle was overwhelmed with taking care of all the kids and trying to make sure that the house is clean when his wife is sitting right there just laid in there, either doing her vlogs or out shopping or whatever. The reason why her credit cards was taken, or the reason why she feel like he was controlling with the money, was because he gave her a credit card and she spent up $500 off of that credit card within an hour.
But to me, it was easy to comply because he gave us the world.
How long were you guys married?
For 5 years. When it comes to dating as a single mom, luckily he didn't prey on his stepchildren, but what if he did? Someone close to me said that sometimes predators like to grow their own prey. My therapist has definitely told me that I have post-traumatic stress disorder from these events. And I've kind of taken on a shape or this feeling of I just never think that I can trust a man again because of, you know, if my own children's father, their biological father, the man that, you know, made them, would do this, then who can I trust? And I told a woman this the other day, and she said, that spirit that's been following you and your family, that generational curse, that spirit that's in charge of that generational curse, it doesn't want you to be married. And it hit home so much to me. And how do I heal? How do I heal?
Well, tell me, how have you decided that because I was in a relationship with one man who did unthinkable, unspeakable things to me, how have you decided that he is a representation of all men? And that somehow that now means that you could never trust another man when you're even sitting with two men being trustworthy tonight, sharing your story, and all the other people who are supporting you in the chat tonight. Tell me about this idea of I can never trust an entire gender ever again.
It's not about that I believe I can't, it's that I just don't know if I can take the chance. That's it. I just feel like I can't take the chance.
How is that different? It's not that I can't, I just can't take the chance. So that says then it's not that I don't trust all men, it's that you don't trust yourself at this point.
Exactly, because my husband appeared to be such a good dad. And I mean, I just would have never, ever, ever expected him to do this. So it may be my own judgment, it may be my own trauma, and I just feel maybe I don't trust myself to ever be with a man again. And people talk about hypervigilance, and I was always a hypervigilant mom. He knew that he had to be the sneakiest of sneaky because I was always watching. So to me, how can I even rationalize what has happened to even think about ever wanting to move on again?
So when you say, I don't trust myself or my judgment ever again, what is it that you're not trusting not to happen?
I'm just scared. I'm just scared. That's all. I'm just scared.
Scared that what?
Someone could appear to be someone that they're not.
And what would happen if that's the case?
Lives could be ruined.
When you say, I'm just scared that lives can be ruined, what is the story that you are telling yourself that causes you to then conclude as a choice, I'll simply never trust again? You're giving these little snapshots, but you're not telling the whole story. I'm curious about the story.
I think I keep blaming myself and saying, how could I have missed this? How could I have missed this? How could I have missed this? It repeats over and over. How could I have missed this? And it's just a very scary thought that I just don't want to have to ever have again in any other situation.
So when you ask yourself the question, how could I have missed this? Is the fear that as I go forward, I will miss things again?
I just am not interested in wanting to find out. Unfortunately, and I know with my therapist, she said it's going to take time to heal, and I need you to understand that all men are not predators, and, you know, this is just your PTSD speaking right now, so you guys are seeing me real and raw, unhealed, completely. We're all still healing. We're all in therapy, family therapy, individual therapy. We're doing all the things. But, you know, this is just me right now. This is my truth right now today, and I'm just here sharing it.
Yeah. And my heart goes out to you and the family. I think that you're doing all of the right things, and it may take a very long time. And I want you to know that healing does not mean that you will ever forget. But the thing that becomes important is that as you are moving forward in your healing, that you don't tell yourself a story that stops you from finding that healing that goes along with this. Because right now, because one person that you were married to did heinous things, now you will block yourself in that space. But you're not telling yourself, I'll never have friends again. Yeah. You're not telling yourself that we'll never play with cousins again. You're not telling yourself that I don't have to worry about anybody else anywhere in the world. You have decided that one man who sat in the place of a spouse is somehow in a position that now makes you decide that only a spouse is who I need to be careful of. Only a spouse is who I need to be watchful for. How do we protect children from sexual abuse? One of the things that we have to let them know is that we are unwavering in our protection of them. And as much as we love our spouses, their mommies or their daddies, we don't love anybody and won't protect anybody more than we will protect them. Amen. And if they ever have something to tell us, we will believe them. Amen. So it's important for us to have those kinds of conversations with our children. It's important for us to use the right language about their body parts and about privacy. And especially to your point, Ryan, when you're talking about control, you want to make sure that children know that nobody has control over their bodies except for them. So not mommy, not daddy, and no one has the right to touch your penis. We don't call it a pecker or a Johnny or a Johnson. We call it a penis. We don't call a vagina a pocketbook or cookies or cupcake or anything else fun. We call it a vagina. We talk about breasts. We talk about having privacy and being able to cover up. We talk about you being able to take care of your private areas, and that if anybody touches you in ways that makes you feel uncomfortable, you can come and talk to me about it, and I will believe you, and no one will be in trouble in ways that will hurt you. And so we have to be emphatic about those conversations. We have to periodically ask our children, has anyone said anything to you that has made you feel uncomfortable? Has anybody asked you to keep secrets from mommy or from daddy and not tell us? Has anybody said that they want to do things to you or have done things to you and they tell you that if you tell, they will hurt me or they will hurt daddy? We have to learn how to be able to ask the right questions, because predators not only know how to scare our children, how to isolate our children, but also they know how to make our children have affection and care and regard for them. So even though they may feel uncomfortable, they may feel more uncomfortable telling on that individual. And so that's why we have to learn how to take care of our children. It's concerning because it's very hard to help people when you are experiencing so much trauma. And so as you are out here telling your story in a way that you are still unpacking it, in a way that you're still trying to process it in therapy, in a way that you're still trying to make sense of it and heal it, I don't know what type of coaching that you do, and I don't know how you are able to navigate actual healing while experiencing trauma on trauma, because I can hear it. It sounds like you're choking back tears constantly, but then your face and your affect doesn't show me, and maybe it's, I don't have my glasses on, so, you know, I can't.
I'm trying to keep it together.
Yeah, so there's like so many different things that are happening that you have plenty of time to be able to share your story and your healing and be effective with the world, but you have to take care of you first.
And what I want to say is I haven't uploaded any content since that video, and I have been taking care of myself and my children. That has been my main priority. But what I want people to really take from this, and why I really did this, is to be concerned about the time in between. And when I say the time in between, the abuse happens and someone says something about it and tells the world or tells the family members. How many other children could be at stake in the time in between, even the 6 weeks in between, that I decided to share that story from the time that the abuse occurred? God would not let me move forward until I shared that story, because there's a good chance this man could be around kids.
Most people are very upset when they hear these kind of crimes, and they're saying like, yo, why is he just not in jail?
That's
like,
what I call and ask. The first few weeks I was calling and asking that, harassing them. Why is he not in jail? He's walking around free. He's a predator. He's a pedophile. He could be around kids. Why have you not arrested them? They said, we're very reluctant to charge these crimes. Okay. We have to do an investigation first. It could take months. There's it's going on the back end, so there's a complaint number, but not an official case number that the public can see. But they're investigating it. They've been investigating it from the day that I stepped into that hospital. If people are not familiar with how the system works, that's how it works. These are mandated reporters. As soon as you go to a hospital, police are involved immediately. The investigation started immediately. The detective came to the hospital with Child Protective Services. They have all been involved in this case. So all the steps have been taken. Therapy has been started, all the things. And to clear the record, I know there's a lot of people saying that I'm doing this in retaliation to him filing for divorce. He filed for divorce 3 days after. 3 days after the investigation started, and I left him and took the kids. That was all he could do to try to get the kids back, was file for divorce. In hindsight, I wish I would have just made different decisions to where I'd never put myself in a situation to even have to, I do wish I would have made better decisions. But being a young mom, I mean, I made mistakes, and I take accountability for that.
It started even before that in your storyline. It wasn't about, if it would have been as simple enough as protecting my children from some men, then that would have been something that you would have done 100% of the time because you love your children. This is why it is so important for us to learn how our traumas are showing up in our adult lives, because the things that we were exposed to in our childhoods, the ways that we were loved and not loved properly, lead us to make decisions based upon trauma and familiarity of trauma. And so what I just encourage everybody to do is learn from a cautionary tale. Whether you think that you can relate to Isis's story or not, we all have trauma. We all have wounds. We all have things that are causing us to show up in our lives in a place where we are not fully functional. And so let this be a cautionary tale that says, how can I heal myself so that I don't have blind spots that will not only hurt me, but hurt people that I love? That is the real takeaway here. Because until we heal, we are literally passing on a legacy that creates more trauma, no matter what that looks like, sexual or otherwise. That's the real takeaway.
Or it's you can look it up for all those people that like to look up information, and you can too. It is medically proven that she has mental illness. And then I just found out recently, with everybody doing their research, and then me going back doing family research, that her son is mentally ill as well because she was doing drugs while she was pregnant with her firstborn. So
how old is the firstborn son?
I think he is 10.
Okay.
Yeah, he's 10. And
so
I think
he old enough to know. He old enough to know a little bit better. Sometimes we believe that our kids have these mental challenges, but it be the parenting that isn't putting this, putting it to them. To love this
husband. They have cases for DV against each other, and also baby daddy number 2 filed a complaint for DV against her as well and her husband. But this man who's out of the picture is really angry right now because Paloma's upset. This guy feels now like he needs to protect her and all this kind of stuff, and that's the reason why he's now trying to harass and make this man break his protective order. He's also using his 11-year-old son. Her and this guy, they're both using their 11-year-old son to send text messages. So then this husband of hers will respond. So then she can run to the court and be like, see, he responded to my son. He responded to my, my baby daddy number 1. This man choosing to divorce her has really affected her ego, has really affected her self-esteem. And that's the reason why she is running to the arms of baby daddy number 1, because this guy's from the streets. He has nothing to lose. And now partnering with him, someone who never even helped her with her eldest son. The reason why her son allegedly has behavioral issues, okay, because we heard this from Dowdy, the husband's niece. She said that the son also throws the little brother down the stairs to the point where the little brother had a concussion. And that little brother belongs to baby daddy number 2, Heron. the gentleman with the hat. So how do you think this guy will feel hearing stuff like this? That his son is having concussion, being thrown down the stairs. You know, his son has been allegedly touched by the eldest son when a year ago he was trying to remove his child from the situation. That's really tragic. And then baby daddy number 1, now he wants to get involved in the picture when he's never been in the picture. Baby daddy number 2 was actually raising his child. And then baby daddy number 3 was raising his child. And his son never gets along with the guys that ISIS chooses, Paloma. The son has had issues with her ex-boyfriend as well. He's seen his mom just moving from home to home, man to man, and I think it's really affected the son. But the father wants nothing to do with family life. I did my research. I found out information about his character because I tried to understand. The niece made these allegations that ISIS is working with her baby daddy and the son to, you know, set her uncle up and whatever. And then I wanted to see, could baby daddy number 1 be capable of doing this? And I realized, yes, he's capable of doing it.
My name is Dee, and I am the niece of the trophy wife's husband. This lady is completely insane. Let's just start from there. Background story, her and my uncle got together really quick. From what I've been seeing and what I've been told, she thought that she was getting a come up with my uncle. But then when things didn't go her way and she pretty much seen that she could no longer hide the things that she was doing behind closed doors, she ended up trying to find a different route, which was to come on here and lie to you all and tell you that her daughter had been touched by her dad, which that is not the case. Her daughter had been touched by her son, and she didn't want anybody to know because she wanted to try to make it seem like my uncle was the bad guy because she wasn't getting what she wanted in the divorce. I am a victim of and I don't appreciate one bit of the accusations being put out there, especially not just because they're fake, not just because that they're out there just for clout, but because of the fact that this involves a family member of mine who I care about dearly. Multiple family members, if you want to put that out there, because the kids are my family too. The boys are somebody else's. The girls and the last baby are a part of my family. And if they're being harmed in any kind of way, I definitely would want to stand up for them, for sure. But her son is the one that the baby first initially said that was touching her. My grandmother was changing the baby one day, and she seen that it was red down there, and she said that her brother did it. Now, when they went to court, the court did not believe what she was saying because Paloma had already ISIS had already put out a case against my uncle because my uncle was furious when he found out that her oldest son was touching the girls. So he went out and tried to, seek help to figure out what he should do about getting her son away from the girls so that they would no longer have to go through this. But as soon as he did that, ISIS went and took papers out on him claiming that he did it because she didn't want her son to go down for it. On top of all of this, she's sitting over here acting like she's the best parent in the world when if y'all go look for yourself, y'all will see that she has a child abuse case of her own. Her youngest son she tried to put it on my uncle that he abused her youngest son, which loves my uncle to death. But the day that her and her ex tried to put out there that my uncle had abused her son, he wasn't in the state. He wasn't nowhere near. So once they went to the hospital and they took the little boy to the hospital, the one thing that they didn't do this time is the social workers pulled him aside and started asking him questions and asked him, who hurt you? Come to find out, the little boy told and said that it was her. Not only that, her oldest son has sent my uncle threatening messages. He has rubbed poop on the walls at multiple family members' house, including theirs. He has pushed his younger brother down the stairs to the point where he had a concussion, and she didn't want to take him to the hospital because she didn't want them to know that she had, a son that had been abusing on her other kids. And then not only that, he hasn't just touched the 2 girls, he's touched all 3 of the kids. He's touched his little brother, he's touched his 4-year-old sister, and he's touched his 2-year-old sister. But all of this will come out eventually. My uncle cannot say anything right now because the case is still open. But my thing is, you sitting over here saying that he did all of this stuff, but if he did, the police themselves said that he would be in jail. They would have took him to jail as soon as the hospital said, oh my gosh, the baby's been touched. What mother uses this platform to sit up there and say, my babies have been touched, and then sit over there and then try to put a GoFundMe page up? You know why she's putting that GoFundMe page up? Because my uncle has had enough. He's not giving you any money. He's not sitting over there playing into your little schemes where she sits over there and tries to have her kid's father call his phone to get him to talk to the kids so that she can say he's in breach of a restraining order. Like, there's so much proof behind all of this stuff that you all do not realize that is going to come down on her head. But yet you all are sitting over here believing her sob story, not doing your research, and paying her money. This girl has up to $2,000 already on GoFundMe, probably more now because I haven't even checked this morning. And I am a mother of a black little boy. So for me, I can understand why she would want to cover up for her son, but at the same time, me personally, if my son is doing anything like that and I have other kids, I want to get him the best help possible away from his siblings until he is confirmed better. And I know he's no longer a threat to the other kids in the house, because you can't just sit over there and single out one kid and be like, oh, I'm going to protect this one, but whatever happens to the other ones just happens. That's not okay, because she did not get what she wanted in the divorce.
Couldn't get on here fast enough. I thought I heard something.
Sponsor the Fight the Flesh bracelet. I want everybody to rock, especially if you're my initiates. Go ahead, copy a nice gold-plated Fight the Flesh bracelet.
A daily reminder to continue to remind us of all the things that we are fighting daily.
I need one for my son.
You know what?
We gonna send.
So he's allowed to see his kids.
He is.
So if he's allowed to see his kids, there's no evidence that he done anything to his babies.
It's nothing yet. Nothing yet. And at this point, they're looking into her and her son as well.
She has made baby daddy number 1 upset right now, Charles Carter. He does come from a good family, but he decided to choose a deviant lifestyle. Her husband has not been charged for anything. He hasn't even been arrested. He's still going to his job. He's still operating his regular life. She built a brand around her marriage status and just being a wife, right? And now it's all about revenge as well. When you deal with people who can't control their emotions, and Isis even says that she learned from her mentor Shira to control her emotions. She doesn't know how to control her emotions. She doesn't, because if she did, she wouldn't have even did that video on YouTube. Why would all 3 of these guys from 3 different backgrounds not want the trophy wife? If I see somebody has been pretending to be something that they're not, I'm interested to know, well, then who really are they? If somebody is cosplaying to be a rich housewife, and then we find out her husband's not rich, they just live in a townhouse, they're just like the rest of us, just living a regular middle class lifestyle, which is fine. But why did this person feel the need to cosplay and present as rich? So regarding baby daddy number 1, his name is Charles Carter. He just decided to just be in New Jersey and just live his life. He could care less. But when Isis needs him to do any kind of stuff for him, the guy, somehow he has a little bit of loyalty to her because she's been taking care of the son. But one thing I think he doesn't like is for anyone to say that his son is somebody that was doing inappropriate stuff. In the previous video, somebody shared that Isis has been competing with his wife. She's very aggressive towards the wife. Like, how can the trophy wife be comparing herself to other wives? I thought that she was a woman that was different, and she's also trying to teach women about the word and all this kind of stuff. And because that's what she said. She's like, my brand is about teaching, women about more about Christianity and hypergamy and leveling up and stuff like this. So I was like, hey, this lady is different, because I haven't heard anyone else talk about Christianity. But then I found out the reason why she's not even a Christian, allegedly. Her mother-in-law is a pastor, her husband's mom. So she thought she can profit from the Christian girls. That was what her goal was. And then we find out she was never practicing Christianity, really. But look at her wearing the cross, and then she transformed herself into the deity Isis. She wanted to become like Shira Star Goddess. Check out my previous podcast, you'll understand. Because all she does is just copy. She was also inspired by baby daddy number 2's wife to become an influencer. His wife is popular on social media. I think she has a problem with the fact that she can't use baby daddy number 2. She can't use him because he seems to have his own brain and his own mind. Okay, but the person she can use and manipulate very easily is baby daddy number 1. Yeah, the name, I don't like it. It just makes me think of that group ISIS. I think of like war. I think of negative things when I think of the word ISIS, because you guys know ISIS, the group that creates, so much terror around the world. The reason why allegedly that the husband decided to file for divorce is because, this is alleged, I'm hearing, he wants a DNA test. He wants to confirm, about the newborn, because he's not sure that she's been loyal. She lives a very high risk lifestyle. All right. So she was living with a man, dating a guy. And by the way, that man that she lived with, the boyfriend, was spending a lot of money on her. She even said that because he spent a lot of money on her, that's the reason why she decided to have a relationship with him and move in with him, with her 2 sons. And her eldest son did not get along with the boyfriend. Okay. So while they were still together, 6 months before she had to move out, the relationship ended, she was already putting herself on dating apps. And then she met her husband, her future husband, which is this guy, Dowdy. She's very quick to replace somebody. She doesn't finish a relationship completely. She also doesn't like to be alone. Okay? She doesn't like to be alone. She always needs emotional support. She's emotionally unstable. Okay, we talked about in a previous podcast, she has identity issues as well. Her personality changes. She's always mirroring other people. She's always trying to destiny swap with people because she has a past of, attacking men.
And so she ended up getting violent with him, trying to put hands on him. She hit him about 4 or 5 times.
Yeah, well, I saw the cases. She has cases against her allegedly for also attacking children, according to her, the baby daddies and stuff like this who want custody over their children.
He said that it's been plenty of times where she's left them at the house by themselves while she go out and shop or go get marijuana or whatever. They have a record where the kids missed 45 days of school. Like you've hurt this man to his core, because I know for a fact that when he got these kids, he was overjoyed. And right now, I can't even really have phone conversations with him because of the hurt that I feel that he has in his voice. And
because I guess they think this woman is the bad one. She's not good. Why would 3 different men from 3 different backgrounds, economic backgrounds too? We have the successful IT guy. I don't know what baby daddy number 2 does, but he's working a regular job. Okay, his wife says that he's climbing up the ladder at work, so he has an honest living. Like, how can you be trying to be baby daddy number 2's wife? Like, I thought you're happy in your marriage. Why would you be competing with somebody else's wife? She hasn't really let go of her emotions towards her baby daddies. Why would he even get himself involved in contacting in a case? A protective order is in place. You know this. Why would you get your 11-year-old son to start harassing his stepdad? This is also adult stuff. This is not something that children should be involved in. So do you see how baby daddy number 1, how he thinks? Because he hasn't been a father majority of the time for his son. He doesn't even know how to lead his own child. For a father to be telling his 11-year-old son, let's send text messages to your stepdad and let's try to get him to, break his protective order so he can get arrested. They've already told the son, your stepdad is accusing you of this. Stuff that young boy does not even need to know. Because that's what the niece said. That's her allegations. But ISIS says it's the dad, so it's her husband that did it. So why don't they keep this stuff private and not talk about it to the son? And the son is angry too, because the dad is angry, his mom is angry, now the 11-year-old son is angry at his stepdad, and now sending text messages to stepdad. They don't even know how to teach a young boy to have respect for, like, just this has nothing to do with you. This is adult stuff. You have to have boundaries. This is your mom is dealing with something. Your dad is dealing with a situation. This doesn't include you at this time. Just imagine the child being innocent in everything and hearing that a grown woman, his stepdad's niece, is saying these kind of things about him. This is not the kind of woman you want to even be friends with. Okay? And by the way, I also heard she's very smart. She's very smart. She knows how to plot and think quickly. And the reason why the courts never charge her really for anything is because she comes to court looking proper. She comes to court being cute. She cries in court as well. And she's just really charming. And then when the judges see her, they look at her like a victim. And she's so believable and stuff because of her presentation. And that's what I'm saying, you guys. If the legal system also believes her and always looks at her like the victim and stuff because of how she puts herself together very well, then that's the thing about me too. When I came across her content, I also thought that, wow, this girl is so unique. She's so different. She is talking about something that other girls are not talking about in the space. And it's like, wow, I can't wait to hear what she has to say. And I also want to say, ladies, that just because you are critiquing someone or you're looking into someone's background and researching and trying to find out, this is what you guys should do too. Some of you ladies are friends with someone like Isis or Paloma. You're friends with people like this. You're friends with girls like this. And if you took your time to get to know them more, then you would probably save yourself some headache and some drama as well. But she was never presenting the stuff I'm finding out on my own. I'm not finding out from YouTube videos. I'm doing my own research behind the scenes. Regarding her character is what's made me very curious about her. When I first came across her video, I did not think that she was like Shira, because she was offering something different that Shira didn't offer. Shira doesn't talk about the Bible. Shira doesn't talk about that. Shira calls herself a witch. She's been a witch or into witch stuff since she was 11 years old. Okay, she's unapologetic. She is who she is. Okay, so I thought Isis was different, but it's kind of similar to the mindset, of just trying to level up in her life and stuff. She wanted to teach women how she was able to do that for herself and her Bible studies. But when she also started making shady remarks and statements regarding her own mentor, I didn't think that was fair. Her decisions are her decisions. She also doesn't take accountability for her own actions. Okay, just this statement here, I found out she doesn't need the money. So why is she still receiving GoFundMe? Why was this woman trying to be like Shira? Why didn't she have her own identity? Why does she always like to latch on and attach herself to someone else's brand and then profit from it? She doesn't have any original mind. Her mind is not original. She can't think for herself.
I'm so tired of misinformation. My daughters are his biological children. This could have happened to anyone. Also, I knew this man for a 6-month period before I became his wife. Yes, I ran a background check. I'm not stupid enough to date online without one. He had no prior charges other than some speeding tickets. I saw every speeding he ever had before I agreed to go on a first date. My dating profile said I had no children. I never married for money. I married because he pretended to have all of the same values as me. I married to build a strong family on a solid foundation. He never showed me signs of being a PDF foul. But yes, I'll take the blame. There's also another content creator who has 2 daughters by her husband, their biological father. Would she also be a dumb pig Misha if her husband did the same to their daughters? Shame on you. Shame on you.
When she said this here about her own mentor, I couldn't believe it. She deleted this.
If anybody marries somebody after 1 week, they done. I'm sorry. Sparkle, sparkle. If you dumb enough to do that, I'm sorry for you. I'm sorry. But if you're sitting out there, you learned everything from me. Did you learn how to be smart? Did you learn how not to be desperate? You didn't learn from me. Did you hear when I said stop being desperate? Did you hear when I said don't be a pig Misha? Did you hear when I talked about background checks? Did you hear when I talked about all this other stuff? About not dealing with men if you have kids until they're old and grown enough to speak for themselves? I tell people all the time, don't say my name if you are desperate and being a pig Misha. Don't claim me. If you are desperate and you're not smart enough to get the bag, flip the money, have options. If you stupid, don't claim me. If your IQ is low, please don't claim me.
Because I stayed in situations much longer than I had to because I had children in those situations. So I understand the struggle with that, definitely.
Ow. Ow.
You know, true. So it's just all about
that baby's
whenever you have the courage to do that. So I'm not noise in the background. I don't know how much you all can hear, but there's so many of us that.
Shira 7, her teachings changed my life. And I would not be where I am today without her teachings. When I listened to Kevin Samuels, I learned a lot about the way women see relationships and the way that men see relationships. It had me, making sure that I'm keeping my body together.
2 children from somebody else? Yes, man, that's why. Because, let me finish. He'd be settling for you because you.
If I got 2 children?
Amongst other things, yes. Women like you walk around thinking you're the shit. And this all started because excuse me?
I never once said I think I'm all that.
But when you think you're going to be celibate till marriage and think somebody's going to do that, that's crazy.
Let's be realistic, Samuel. It's about value.
Yeah, and your value is low.
Oh, wow. And how do you know that? You're not
because you're 5'4" and 200 pounds.
Okay.
And 37 years old with 2 kids. That's how I know. In Kentucky.
I tell women to, tell men that they first meet that they don't have children. And I know it's very dishonest and I know it's immoral, but at the same time, you have to also protect yourself and your kids. And on a first meeting, I believe, it's my opinion, that a man does not need to know about your children. Don't tell people you got kids. That's the stupidest thing you can do because they start to treat you a certain way. And like I said, there's weirdos out there. Single moms need to stay quiet when they're dating, and they need to date for a long time until the man has fallen in love with them, gave them money, invested in them heavily. Then when she deems him worthy to be serious or exclusive, then she can tell him. If you're going to bring somebody around your kids, you got to get the background checks. You got to get all that stuff. And plus, if you have young kids, you really shouldn't be out there anyway trying to bring people around it. If that child is not old enough to fight or somebody or to dial 911, you shouldn't be bringing any strangers, men or women or strangers around them anyway. I don't do that. I don't even let people babysit my kids. If it's a family member like your grandma or something, yes, but I don't let strange people around my kids. That's crazy. I would never do that. I'm too much of a mother. Okay? You can date several guys, get the bag without them never ever meeting your children or never even knowing you have kids. Do you know how many women do this? Do you know how many women date and get the bag and the men don't even know they got kids? Sprinkle, sprinkle.
Stupid. If they just giving you money and you letting them touch you, cool. I guess we'll add prosty to your resume.
Somebody's trying to attach their name and their brand, their whole serious situation to you when you have nothing to do with their situation. That's not good. But because she was name dropping all the time, Shira said this, Shira did this, Shira did, and it's like, oh my gosh, what do you think, Isis? Shira identifies as spiritual, but she also has a Shira star goddess. If you know about her background, she has other YouTube channels as well. She says that she became interested in witch and spells and everything when she was 11 years old. Okay, so just go see the first video, the second video, then you can learn more. But yeah, she does identify as spiritual as well, and she refers to herself as a witch. She has built her own brand, her whole brand, copying Shira 7. Profiting off of Shira 7's brand, her talking points, her own mind, right? Because Shira is very intelligent. These are all her own material, pretty much. Shira is an author. She wrote a book. So Isis wrote a book. Okay, Shira has a spiritual channel. So Isis was also trying to, now become a goddess, just like Shira, star goddess. She's a goddess. Now she is becoming Isis, the goddess, which is a deity, as I told you guys earlier. So just everything. She was inspired to be more involved in Christianity because her husband was Christian and the mom was a pastor. But at the age of 20, she became a self-proclaimed witch. Oh yeah, she actually doesn't really believe in Christianity. This was all also a facade as well. As you can see, she's wearing a cross. But allegedly, based on my research, this is what I heard. The name Isis is from her DT or whatever, DT called the goddess of Isis. But yeah, at 20 years old or whatever, she was already walking around saying she was a witch. And yeah, her family believes in some other stuff too as well.
When I created my platform, I wanted to redefine the term trophy wife into a woman that is the Proverbs 31 woman, which is my favorite verse in the Bible, and I believe that every woman should aspire to be. It's not just about how pretty you are. It's about, are you, being a good mom? What are your values? Are you choosing a man of values? And I thought that I was talking about the right thing. And, I don't think it's bad for a woman to want a successful man. I'm never going to say that a woman should just not care at all, how a man shows up, because the success is honestly a manifestation of different attributes within the man. It's just a manifestation of being a hard worker, persistent, faithful, all the things that success is a fruit of. So I still stand by that.
But anyway, this was not a problem, okay, for OJ. Or maybe he felt like he was helping her. That's another thing too. Sometimes people who are involved in the church, like a pastor's kid, a PK, his mom is a pastor. Sometimes people in the church are really interested in people with problematic backgrounds. They want to save people. They're more interested in dealing with people that they find that are worldly, or people that they think are, not as religious, because then they feel like they can be their superhero, Superman, and just save them, and show them the word and try to bring them on a better path. They actually feel like they're changing the world when they do that. A lot of times, men in the church, they are actually not even interested in dating girls in the church. Girls that actually have the same values and background like they do, or even girls that they've known since they were young. These boys will rather date girls that are not even the girl next door, girls from their church. They're going for girls that are living more deviant lifestyles. They're more attracted to that, because then they feel like, okay, I can change this girl's life. I can, make a difference in her life. So they go and they find people who are broken, damaged, in trauma, in fight or flight mode, girls that are just completely, lost in life. And they try to save these girls, and they feel like these girls are almost like their project. Okay. I'm not trying to say that that was necessarily his intentions with ISIS, but he did find a woman who was vulnerable, a woman that was not meeting her basic needs of survival. Okay. She needed shelter. She couldn't afford to get a place to live for her sons and for herself. This is the kind of girl, because she is so obsessed with Shira 7, she's the type to see if she can also take her man. You need to pay attention. If you meet a woman that doesn't have a sense of self and she's always copying you, those are the kind of women you need to keep away from yourself. Like someone like Shira, if she brought ISIS close to her, this is the kind of woman that, since her marriage isn't working out and her husband is divorcing her, okay, I'm just saying, this is just an example, ladies, this is just an example. Since her marriage is not working out, and Shira's man makes more money than her man, because Shira's man is older. Okay, he's been working in IT in his profession, his career, for longer. Okay, he's lived longer than her husband. Okay, because ISIS' husband is 50 years old. Shira's husband should be in his, maybe late 60s. I don't know. Yeah, maybe late 60s, because they're, I think, 20 years difference as well. My name is Jermaine D. I'm a naval officer, lieutenant. I have been in the Navy for many years, and I have been formally trained by the U.S. Navy in advanced electronics and computers. I have a bachelor's degree in MIS. I also work for, he mentioned some company, performing cyber operation. I'm currently working there now. So basically, someone like ISIS, okay, this is, ladies, this is not just about ISIS. It's not just about Shira. It's about us in real life. Some of you are friends with people like this, okay, as well. So since her divorce and her husband has been giving her a hard time, have her life, because this whole time she has been looking up to this woman's life. I've told you guys about the different stages of, like, when somebody is jealous of you and how it goes. Remember I told you guys that? Like, first, when you meet someone, they're so nice. Like, if she met Shira, she'd be so nice to Shira. Like, oh my God, I'm such a big fan of yours. I've just been following your teachings. I really look up to you and all this kind of stuff. Shira brings her closer. So first, she admires her. They copy you. Okay, so she's already doing the copying. After they copy you and stuff like that, and then they start realizing that they can't really be you. Like, they're not getting to the level that they thought that they were going to get by following you, like copying everything you do. Then after that, they start to resent you. And when they start resenting you, one thing that they like to do is start then to try to destroy your reputation. So then after that, she'll start creating rumors about Shira and be like, oh, I was her friend. Yes, I used to hang out with her. She's like this, she's like that, trying to destroy Shira 7's brand behind her back, or even publicly. Because when these people realize that they can't be you, they can't destiny swap with you, they start to resent you. They start to also turn people against you. They can turn your own husband against you, your own children against you. Okay? She's dangerous. She's not original. There's more to you than just being someone's wife or being a mother. Who are you as an individual? That's what I'm curious about. And that's why we're talking about you, because you seem very fascinating. Although the things that I'm finding out about you is not really good at all, actually. It's very concerning. Very, very concerning stuff. Things I never even expected to find out. But I'm finding out about you. And it's just like, how do you do it? The manipulation is very extreme. And you're very good at it. Her favorite book, The Art of Manipulation, How to Get Anyone to do what you want. This is allegedly her favorite book, and she's really good at it. Her power of seduction, the art of persuasion, she knows that. Also cosplaying, she's very good at that. She's very talented. She would make basically, how do I just say this in the nicest way? She's like the YouTube swindler. It shows that she wanted to garner sympathy. She was willing to use her children's tragic story to profit. She doesn't need your money. ISIS is doing better than a lot of you. Okay, I already told you guys in my previous video. ISIS is driving a white BMW hatchback. She's not the type of woman I would want to be friends with. She's competing with baby daddy number 2's wife. Like, what kind of woman is this? The girl code is broken.
Any woman that comes on here to exploit your kids for money or for likes and views and all of that is not a woman that I want to be around, or I would even trust around any kids, honestly. And a woman that doesn't stand on her own is not a woman that I feel like I can follow. So just be mindful, everyone.
You have to do an assessment on the women that you're friends with. I can't support someone just because you're a woman. I just can't do that just like that. It doesn't work like that. I'm not blaming her. I'm talking about her character. She was rebranding. This is something that she also talked about in her viral video, I Married a Monster.
So I don't know what the future of this channel is going to be. I don't know if I'm going to change the name or what. Yeah.
So she actually connected with an IT company that had her featured as well on the website. This is the video that I watched. She was actually thanking them for trying to help her. I still am a subscriber because I'm still watching her story unfold. They said they helped her gain more revenue as well. So they put together a whole plan and a package for her. But it appears that she did pay for everything regarding the trophy wife, because she was using all the materials, all the books, everything that they created for the trophy wife brand. They created it. But now, she has to rebrand everything, because in the past she was doing, well, we know what she was doing, the stuff that she was promoting and everything. I think she's just going to switch it a little bit, because where she did make money, coaching calls that she was doing. Right now, she is deleting everything to do with the new trophy wife. And before she removes this, that's the reason why I have it on the screen. This is the services, okay? So she's like, hey, trophies, don't miss out. 50% off 1 hour coaching calls. 24 hours for 24 hours only. Limited availability. Who is this good for? Single women needing guidance on their level up journey. Women looking to date wealthy men. She's not even married to a wealthy man. We saw her history with the type of men that she is with. They're not wealthy men. How can someone give advice on how to, date wealthy men when they're not with wealthy men? She's with a man who's a provider and has a good job, yes, but wealthy is going too far. Also, she says women in relationships looking to secure the ring. That's another thing too. She shouldn't give advice regarding securing the ring. Also, she has single moms on their dating and hypergamous journey. Honestly, she's also not fit to be giving advice to single moms regarding hypergamous journey and dating, because we saw how she moves as a single mom and rushes and, a relationship so quickly. I think she should remove that one out as well in her new academy. Let's see here. Next, she says, wives looking to level up in marriage and receive more princess treatment. Also, that's probably not good for her to continue with the new rebrand, because her own husband wasn't giving her the princess treatment. By the way, there was a person that her brand, the new trophy wife, did impact. Dear Isis, when I first came across your content on YouTube, I was honestly impressed by not just the quality of your videos, but by the quality of information. You have a way of explaining concepts that seem so foreign to someone who has never been in the world of hypergamy and leveling up. You also spoke about things that were never previously discussed in detail before, especially on YouTube. So when I saw you had a coaching program, I immediately signed up. This coaching was money well spent. I got to do a deep audit and cleanse of my closet as well as my mindset. I was made aware of many habits and beliefs that were holding me back. Your honesty is what I appreciated the most. You let me know exactly where I was going wrong and right. My confidence grew so much since the first time we met, as well as my discernment. The exercises that you gave me were also very practical. So someone like me who didn't have any experience was able to do it. You also drew from your personal experience as well, and that gave me loads of encouragement. For the girls like me who have no idea where to begin, I'd highly recommend your coaching. Thank you so much for doing what you do. I can't wait to show you more wins. Love, Mercedes. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I want you to know that she was making an impact. Ladies, do you think that she wrote this herself, or do you think that this is a real woman? So remember this comment in yesterday's video. Somebody noticed that Isis responded within 0 seconds. And they were like, there's no way her husband made this comment. Remember, you guys have to realize that I'm very naive. I'm one of the people that was manipulated by her too, right? Like, I'm very naive. I thought really highly of the trophy wife, right? So she was able to manipulate me too, okay? And I was also manipulated by this, because all of you ladies said her husband did not write this. She wrote it. So somebody made a comment under her YouTube video and said, you were able to go from a single mom to a spoiled housewife in less than a year because of your look. End of story. Then 0 seconds after, just 0 seconds, all of a sudden there's a response from her account, well, her YouTube channel. And it says, I do not get involved in my wife's passions except to fund them. But your comment persuaded me to respond. I fell for my wife's heart before I knew I wanted to marry her. And it isn't her beauty that keeps me, but her soul. So, he was like her sponsor, her investor, you know what I mean? So I just thought, okay, this guy is investing in all of this. By the way, this is the company as well that helped her. They said that they tried to find like something that was fit for her needs. And they said they provide security for her academy. They're also going to provide digital strategy and growth and web design development and business optimization as well. They said ISIS already had a very strong YouTube presence, but we were able to drive traffic to her website and increase her conversion rate by an impressive 82%. Additionally, due to the systems and back-end automations, we were able to help her capture an additional 220% of revenue. Okay, so yeah, they also helped her to set up an online beauty product store, which created an additional revenue stream. Okay, in less than 30 days. They may have been like, just be vulnerable, share your story, go online, tell everybody, what happened to you, and then use these keywords, use this type of lighting, and make sure your title is also very captivating, a title that will make people want to click. And she followed all their instructions perfectly, right? And that's the reason why she, went viral for her video. Number one, she shouldn't have made that video exposing her daughters and monetizing off of their daughter. She should have made a video about divorce. Later on, when the girls grow up, they're going to find out what mommy did. Mommy went on the internet and told the whole world, 2 million people, what happened to them. And then also posted their pictures all over the internet. And they saw all of it. A mom should be someone that people can trust. And women who are actually applauding her for doing this, those are bad friends. Like women who will tell you, yeah, go on the internet, go film a video about how your daughters were taken advantage of. Those are not your friends. By the way, she's made more money than this, but trust me, based on what I'm hearing right now, she is setting herself up to make sure she's already getting temporary spousal support from him, right? But she is setting herself up in a position to win. She's being very strategic about what she's doing as well. The niece story made people question her and be like, hold on a second, is this girl really legit? Is she really what she says she is? If you're going to take advice from someone, you have to take a closer look at, how have they been navigating in life? And when I did my research and I found these are the men that she chose to have, children with, that's what made people be like, hold on a second. And she's always deducting points. And she always says, if I ever find any of you ladies dating, a Dusty, minus 10 points for you. She always deducts points. So she's always hard on the ladies that watch her, and she expects these women to choose very good quality guys. But when we take a look at her history as well, she's not even really good at picking guys as well. There might be, a baby daddy number 4 as well. Okay, because allegedly I heard that the husband was questioning things regarding their child as well, because she has a history of cheating. I guess he wanted to confirm that was really, his son. And you know what, like I said, what happened to her children allegedly could have happened with a low-class man, middle-class man, or a wealthy man. Okay, so sometimes we take a look at history. So if some of you ladies still want to continue to get her advice from her academy that she's going to have, then you have to also look, who is your coach with? What kind of men do you think that this woman would connect you with? If Isis was doing like matchmaking, what kind of men do you think she would connect you with? Are you talking about her husband that's legally her husband, number 3, Orenthio Jermaine Dowdy? He's been married 3 times. You guys, that's already a red flag. His ex-wife filed for divorce in 2019. And then a few months later, he married her. He's always getting his speeding tickets. He drove off, left a body on the ground. Remember I told you guys how he's just always having road rage? He's out of control in society, like in the streets and stuff. When he's driving, he doesn't care about people. And then also she said in her video too, her viral video, that her husband, this man, was picking up the boys from school. Why would you let this guy that's always having accidents, having road rage, why would you let him even pick up your boys from school? His mindset, there's something not right about this guy, sincerely. Something's not right. His desperation is also not right. Why didn't he have children? Like he's like 50 years old. Why didn't he have children and then he had children with Isis? Is Isis Hispanic? I believe she's Puerto Rican or from Dominican Republic. Oh geez, not Puerto Rican. I think Dominican Republic and African American, I think. Yeah, she has lots of names. Oh, sorry, I didn't post it. This is her name. It was not easy to find, information about her. She does such a good job on social media of just completely being a different person. The art of manipulation, her art of manipulation is so good. We have to give her credit for that. She's very good at that. By the way, this is also family history as well. Her grandma had her mother at the age of like 15 years old. And then her mother had her when she was 16 years old. Then Isis had her first child when she was 17 years old. So it's like generation to generation. It's just like a lot of people in his circle are not believing this. They're saying that she's very toxic, They're saying he's not perfect either. And these two people actually have a lot in common. Okay. So the things that they have in common, this is what I heard, is they both don't have regard for human life. They're both very manipulative people. They're both toxic, and neither of them understand how to love. Okay. And both make irrational and impulsive decisions. And both of them even have the DV charges, as I mentioned, against them with separate, like before in their relationships, before they were even together. These are people who are known to the court system who continue to have DV charges against them. So they have those things in common with each other. Okay. So it's not like this man is a perfect man either. Okay. But they're just saying in general, they don't believe that, you know, this man did what she claims he did. It's in the DNA at this point, right? It's just in the DNA.
That she had a breakdown one day and she admitted that her mother framed her dad when they were younger, saying that her dad touched them to get full custody of her and her sisters.
She come from a family of women that does this to men.
Also, why does he have issues with other women? Because I saw he had issues with other women in his records. Always going out with single mothers. We also have to find out as well. If this is a man who's always been single with no kids and continues to go after single moms, we need to take a closer look at that, because it shows me if he's like that, that's a man that wants to get closer to children. But if he did age groups and different, like women that sometimes have kids, some have kids, some don't have kids, a variety, you know, where it's balanced, then that's okay. He just got a divorce and he was dating a 19-year-old. The divorce was finalized in 2019, and then he married Isis. Imagine this 19-year-old falls in love with a man who's, you know, in his late 40s, you know, thinks that they are going to have a long-term relationship. And then he's really cheating on her with a woman he met online, Isis. Then she starts contacting Isis's phone, sending her text messages. You guys can see this as well. It's been documented in the court. Starts sending text messages to her. And Isis also had to get a DV order against this girl. Okay. Both of them got an order against her because, you know, she really took it to heart. She got really crazy. And it wasn't actually Isis's fault. She didn't even know that he was in a relationship. He's not the perfect guy, but he wouldn't do something like this. And they believe that Isis is actually trying to frame him. Okay, because this has always been the type of relationship that they've always had. It's always been very toxic, where they both like to get revenge on each other.
Like domestic charges or something against her, but I don't think the courts accepted it in a way. Why was he doing that? What was the situation about that when he was trying to file those domestic charges against her? Yeah, it seemed like he went to 3 different counties and went to 3 different spots to try to get this DV on this woman. Then the next day she was able effortlessly to get charges on him or a protective order on him that they canceled. But she's still going around saying like he's on a protective order. No, he can see his kids. You're just not allowing him to see his kids.
She was okay. So he said that she had came to where he was, trying to demand him to give her money because she was saying that her and the kids hadn't eaten and all that other stuff. And so she ended up getting violent with him, trying to put hands on him. She hit him about 4 or 5 times, and she was just going belligerent to the point where he tried to press charges on her because he was like, "It's not fair that everything that I do, yeah, you know, they can take the charges, but when it comes to her, no, you know, it's always something. It's always a hiccup." So when he went down there, they told him that he didn't have any marks or anything like that to prove that she had hit him, so he couldn't press charges.
Okay, and then the very next day. The very next day, that's when she went to go file these charges about him, basically trying to violate the baby. So basically, it seems like it's vindictive.
Let's be honest. I think most of these women were attracted to his profession, because I told you earlier, you know, it's not like there's something super, super exciting. He's not even in the military anymore. Okay. Aside from him working in IT, when he's off from work, allegedly, according to my research, this man is just drinking nonstop. So what's so exciting about that? What is so adventurous about that? What is so amusing about that? And then the relationships he has leads to divorce. But these 3 women found him very attractive. But I believe it was just based on a lot of women really, really, really love men in the military. And sometimes they don't realize that some men who come back from the military sometimes suffer with mental health issues. They suffer with a whole bunch of different things as well. Can you be patient enough to help this man rebuild and transition? Are you ready to deal with all of that stuff, especially if you have children that you also have to care for? Told you guys in previous videos that this man also has had a lot of road rage. He has a lot of charges for just like hit and runs and stuff like that, where he just left the body on the ground. He just doesn't care about human life. A background check doesn't tell you the reason why somebody cannot maintain long-term relationships. It doesn't say that. Okay, you're gonna have to ask that person. And if you want to be someone's wife and someone's married so many times, you have the right to ask that man, well, is it okay with you if I talk to your ex-wife and just, you know, is it okay with you? Like if he has nothing to hide, okay, they're both very empty people. Their character. He's a mature man that has a problem, I heard, leading women in his age group, right? So then when he gets with women who are 20 years younger than him, 30 years younger than him, why can't he make it work? But I also heard that the reason why he preferred to start dealing with younger women is because he felt that he can control them more, okay? He has a problem with leadership. And that's why I said earlier or in a previous video, I told you guys that the way this man went about this relationship, he just got a divorce. And then, you know, he immediately decided to he immediately started putting himself on dating apps. He was actually there. While he was married, he was cheating on his wife. Okay. His wife divorced him. Both wives got rid of him because it was just too toxic dealing with him.
She was his fourth wife, and he's had some good women along the way. But at the same time, it's a growing process. Men will be men.
Yeah.
Men will still, okay, I got this one, but I see this one shaking a little leg, so I'm gonna go and entice that one. That's always been with him. Like, it's never been no off the wall profile, none of that stuff. It's always been like, okay, yeah, I'm an occasional man, and I may cheat, and that cost him his relationships. But it never has been him putting his hands on women, him SDing any women, or him doing anything crazy to anybody's kids.
Okay. Yeah. Multiple marriages is a red flag for sure. It really is. If you are going to marry someone who has been married so many times, please ask them why they got a divorce. There's nothing wrong with that. You need to know someone's dating history and marital history or whatever. You need to know. She mentions here that OJ was actually married 1, 2, 3, 4 times. North Carolina, where he grew up, he was kind of raised to have some good values, but I just don't know what kind of went wrong with this guy. Okay. So the new findings that I found out is that he actually has been married 4 times, not 3 times. This actually makes this man look really bad. It makes him look very irresponsible, and he appears to target women who are single moms, and the relationships just don't last. He's holding his child. So he seems like, appears like, a dad that, like he's carrying his daughter and stuff like that, has his daughter on his lap. So I'm like, okay, he doesn't seem that neglectful. Okay. He seems to, well, based on pictures, if we're just looking at pictures, it looks like he's a dad that's proactive with the children. I see him here as well, holding his daughter. Then I saw him also playing with one of the sons. As you can see, like they were playing outside in the yard, and he's there interacting with the children. So based on the images, okay, we don't know for sure, but just based on images. Remember, and she also put this guy on a pedestal that he was such a great husband, right? So if somebody's such a great husband, how did they all of a sudden become such a monster too? But we never know these things, right? But based on what I've heard is, yes, the man has a drinking problem, allegedly. Or men in general, people should avoid marrying people in the military, surgeons. Who else was on the list? Nurses, police officers. Yeah, I believe those are the top professions not to marry, according to the divorce lawyer. Let me confirm, okay? Top professions. I mean, of course, you can get a divorce in any profession, but this is just the top professions. Divorce lawyer. The 5 worst professions to marry are firemen, police officers, military men, surgeons, and pilots. These men have a God complex. A majority of them always think that, they are superior to people and all this kind of stuff. They're used to being praised. Nurses are usually up there too. Let me tell you why the nurses are up there. Nurses make good money, but because they have such stressful jobs and their work is so demanding, they also have a power struggle, because a lot of times at their job, like they make a lot of money and all this kind of stuff or whatever, but they have problems with their spouses. Okay. A lot of times they're very irritated. And because they make a lot of money, their spouses might not make that much money as well. So then that also causes issues in the relationship. Studies revealed that 33% of nurses have been divorced, compared to 24% of physicians. So because they have such a demanding, work and everything, sometimes a lot of nurses also bring that home. I had a tenant who was a nurse, and her boyfriend asked me to remove him out of the suite. He had to get another apartment in the building so he can get away from her, because when she comes home, he's not allowed to watch TV. He's not allowed to put any music on. He's not even allowed to walk around the apartment. She demands that the room stay dark. So he felt like he could never have any freedom. She was always very irritated and had anger issues. I've walked by their apartment and I've heard them, fighting and stuff. She gets enraged, starts throwing stuff. So anyway, he asked me to get him another suite in the apartment building, just to give her space to try to save the relationship. But when she found out that he was leaving to another suite, I found her kicking that man's door, her boyfriend's door. She was kicking it. There's a way that police officers, when they come to your door, that they kick the door. They most times use their feet, like they kick it at the bottom. She was kicking his door like a police officer, and I saw her. I was even scared of her. Okay. And I'm taller than her too. She's Asian. She's a short Asian lady, I'm taller than her. Yes. But I was really scared of her. So when I saw her doing that, because I'm the manager of the building, so I was hearing this from my suite, and I saw her doing that. I was also scared for my life. I was really scared. I had to close my door. Oh my God, you guys. As a manager, I have many times seen things and I'm scared for my life. Like, I don't want to get involved, because you just can't, you don't know what people are capable of. And I really don't like to deal with people who may have nothing to lose. And I know that the man told me that she was attacking him as well. Yeah, the guy's even taller than her. Her boyfriend is way taller than her. He's also Asian too, but she's short, but she doesn't mind getting aggressive. Okay. So anyway, guess what happened? After she did that, she thought that the reason why the boyfriend got another suite is because he wanted to cheat on her. He wasn't cheating on her at all. He just wanted to have a space to listen to music and watch TV, and just allow her the opportunity to rest and to sleep, since he's not allowed to do that. Okay. I also know another man that mentioned, he's Filipino. He told me that his wife, he got a divorce as well. His wife was having an affair with a doctor. He couldn't believe it, that his wife was actually Yeah, doing stuff with a doctor. And also his wife was controlling him. The wife actually told him not to work. Told this man that what he should do, like not work in his profession anymore because she makes more money, that he should just drive her to work. And she was constantly working all the time. She wanted this man to quit his job that he went to school for just to drive her to all her different jobs. She would take different shifts at different hospitals or whatever, and he would drive her out of town too. She would work in like small hospitals out of town and in the city. Yeah, she would take on different shifts and all that kind of stuff. And that's what she wanted him to do. And when he said, no, I can't just drive you to your, to your work, she didn't want to drive to her work. So his job was to drive her. And yeah, and then when he found out that she was having an affair, she even told him, he was heartbroken. And then he left the city. And now thankfully he met someone. He's remarried now. Okay. But anyway, the nursing world can be very intense. All right. Very intense. By the way, ladies, other professions too with high divorce rates include bartenders. Avoid the bartenders. A lot of them, they're always partying with colleagues after work. Some of them are even involved with customers. Okay. They're just sometimes, doing it with everybody. And also they're drinking while, after work or whatever. And they're always going to industry parties and just living, some of them. Okay.
So I hope that helped gave y'all a understanding of what a regular person that we may not, think twice about. But yes, spiritual energy vampires is definitely a thing, and this is definitely an example of a spiritual energy vampire. Her and clearly her husband as well. They, pretty much trauma bond. I want to mention about the top professions because she mentioned what I am. I can't say it's not true. It is true, but nothing applies to all. And in my previous video, I also mentioned that one or two things. Spiritual energy vampires can either take on those jobs so that they can find their prey, or they get preyed on. They take on those jobs because they are genuine people. They're soft-hearted. They really want to serve people, but they end up being preyed on and sucked the life out of on those jobs, either by co-workers who are the other ones who taking on those jobs because they are the spiritual energy vampires, or from the people that they're serving, whether that's unconsciously or consciously. A lot of times dealing with people, whether you do community work or servitude as in healthcare system, or bartending, whatever, when you're dealing with people who need help or need assistance or need comfort or need healing, it can be draining. So the top professions not to marry are the same professions I mentioned in my previous video. And I also agree, night nurses or night workers probably in general, but specifically night nurses and doctors, they do be cheaters. They do. They do have a lot of affairs going on and literally sex going on at the job. I pointed that out, not to say all and not to say don't mess with these type of people in fear that all of these people are cheaters, but do keep that in mind when you are judging the character of a person. I feel like a lot of people are not good judges of character. If you are and you keep certain things in mind, it will save you a lot of headache in the future. So just while you're getting to know someone, just keep that in mind so you can pay attention whether or not this person have certain red flags, and seeing if a person is just a loyal person in general, a person with integrity, then more than likely, or a genuine person, authentic person, more than likely, you won't have to worry about that. But the key is to, pay attention. So I hope that helped. Please like, subscribe, share, comment, turn on your notifications. If you are watching this because it popped up in your algorithm, I do not make gossip videos. I make videos to help uplift people, to help show what a woman who follow God's commandments, which is more than 10, what the life looks like. I make videos for growth, spiritually, mentally, physically. I make videos to become a higher value person. So if you're into all of those things, you know, I'm a real life person. I notice a lot of people on social media is faking like Paloma was. I even heard somebody else that was, you know, close to Shara 7 even admitted her whole channel was a lie. I'm hoping, you know, that this is not the end of the truth year, but people are seeking authenticity even more. So, you know, if you want to follow someone who is authentic, I am growing. I'm not perfect. You know, I want you to follow this journey with me. We can grow together. You know, if you are into becoming a better person, health-wise, spiritual-wise, please